Hey, I'm Lucas, and in this video we're going to take a look at how you can spin up an instance of Redis that you can use in your next backend project. In order to accelerate your application, you can add a quick in-memory cache to your application using Redis. And maybe you've been in this situation before. You've been using Redis locally to test things out, but as soon as you want to move things to the cloud, the question arises, where do you get this Redis application from? And you can, on the one end of the spectrum, you can of course self-host everything. You can spin up Redis on bare metal and install it on bare metal and take care of it yourself. Or on the other end of the spectrum, there is a fully managed Redis offer that you can often find with popular cloud providers. And if you don't want to go either route, if fully managed is too expensive and if self-managed is too complicated and time-consuming, there is a middle ground that makes it a little bit easier to spin up your own instance of Redis. And I'm talking about Sliplane. And Sliplane is a platform that allows you to deploy containers, and we can deploy Redis in a container and quickly spin up an instance of Redis. So I will click on Get Started with GitHub right here, and then I log in with my GitHub account. And right here, I'm in the dashboard. As you can see, I already have one project right here, which is called Postgres, but I want to get rid of this. I don't need it right now. I do a quick sudo rm Postgres. Then I click Create Project, and this time we will name this project Redis. I will create a new project, click on the project. Of course, you can choose a different name if you want. And then I click on Deploy a Service right here in the project. And the next thing that we have to do is create a server where our Redis instance will be running on. I click on Create Server, and I name this one Redis. Now, one neat thing about Sliplane is that the server can hold multiple applications, so you can also deploy your backend right on this server. What you don't want is a lot of latency between your databases and your backend, so it makes a ton of sense to deploy these closely together, ideally in the same data center, or if it's a small application, it even makes sense to deploy them on the same server, and Sliplane allows you to do just that. For this little demo right here, we will just deploy an instance of Redis. So I will click on the server, and then I click on Add Service. And right here we have a bunch of pre-configured images. And you might have already spotted that there is a Redis preset. I will click on the Redis preset, and now it's basically just a one-click deploy. I can add the service as it is, but if you want to, you can also change the configuration that we have in the preset. For example, we have a password right here, and the version is set to 7.2.5. If you want to install a different version, just swap out the tag of your Docker image URL. And if you want to use a different password, just swap out the password. You can already also see that there is a volume mounted, or there will be a volume mounted to this service, which is called Redis Data, CRKC, and the mount path is /data. So I will click on Add Service, and then I click on Deploy. But before we click on Deploy, I also want to mention this public toggle right here. If we deploy it right now, the Redis instance will be publicly available on the internet, which means all kinds of different services can try to connect to it. Now, we secured it with a password, but if your backend is running on the same server as your Redis instance, it makes sense to deploy this as a private service. And this is just a little bit more secure because we are kind of shielding it off from the internet and will only allow internal traffic. So I will click on Deploy right here. And now a new deploy will be triggered in the background, and this is probably only going to take a few seconds. You can see a new service has been created and the status is deploying. I can click on the service and I can scroll through the settings that we just set. You can see the version was set to 7.2.5, which is the version that we use when deploying this. And then we are using this little cmd command to set the Redis password that we are storing in this environment variable right here. And if we scroll back up, we can see the deploy was already successful. And if I click on Deploy Successful, we can see the logs and we can see what's going on this server. So ready to accept connection. It is looking good. Right here you have the volumes. And we added one volume when we deployed the service. It is mounted to /data, and Sliplane will do automatic daily volume backups of this volume. So that's already it for this tutorial. As you can see, it was really simple and easy to get an instance of Redis running. If you did like the video, give it a thumbs up, comment, like, and subscribe, and I see you next time.